we just need to tape it. He doesn't take his notes. That's it. Oh, perfect. She'll be starting in about 3 to 4 minutes.
Should we do the other side, you think, or are we good?
Yeah.
It's a little trickier.
Just be safe.
You could even do it like,
Yeah.
Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you for being here. Today, the Kissimmee Police Department will present the findings of the independent investigation conducted by the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Leading this effort is our Chief of Police, Charles Broadway, who will speak about the decisions that have been made and the department's continued efforts to move forward with transparency and accountability. Following his remarks, he will open the floor for questions. After the Q&A, we will provide you with the following materials: a copy of the administrative investigation report, a list of the employees who were subjects of the investigation and the intended disciplinary actions, and also a copy of the news release, as we usually do. If you have any questions that are not related to today's topic, just send them to kpdpio@kissimmee.gov. At this time, I'll turn it over to our Chief of Police, Charles Broadway.
Thank you, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate the partnership with our media partners, helping us bring transparency and open government and just getting important, relevant facts and news out to the community. So thank you for being here as well. A couple other things before I read my prepared statements. Just want to thank Sheriff Mina and his staff for conducting a thorough investigation for us into this use of force incident. We're very thankful They did a very detailed, oriented report and investigation for us. So I want to first start by thanking them. But today marks a turning point, not just because we're here providing the findings of the internal affairs investigation of the Orange County Sheriff's Office, but because I'm standing here to own the facts, explain the decisions, the discipline given, and share the changes that we've already implemented to ensure something like this never happens again. We want to also ensure that our community knows that we are a professional agency and we will continue to move forward with purpose. If we go back to April 22nd, 2023, former police officer Andrew Bisagio used excessive use of force after claiming an individual was resisting arrest. The actions of Bisagio and others that evening raised serious concerns. Those concerns deepened when the state attorney's office conducted an independent review that raised additional questions about truthfulness and conduct by other members of the agency. Today, we are taking the final steps in the city's original commitment to conduct the independent investigation into the department, as well as those involved in mishandling of the response to resistance investigation. There are two things that I really want to make very clear. I'll be very matter of fact and be very direct about. The first is that type of behavior that we observed on the body cam is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Second thing I want to be very clear about is that this was not a department-wide cover-up. The actions of a few who have been held accountable do not reflect the values, the commitment, the dedication, the integrity of the men and women of the Kissimmee Police Department as a whole. We should not be here today, but we are because a former police officer made a series of unacceptable and deplorable decisions, including influencing two other officers to lie to minimize his excessive use of force. Subsequently, the city of Kissimmee requested the Orange County Sheriff's Office to conduct an internal affairs investigation to achieve transparency, objectivity, restore community confidence, and ensure accountability. Since receiving the findings of the investigation on May 27th, a methodical review of almost 300 pages of this investigation was conducted by myself, police department leadership, members of the made regarding any disciplinary actions are guided by what's firm and fair, as well as in accordance with policy, procedures, and the law. We could not speak about it publicly until all employees have been formally notified and served. So to begin, 13 members of the Kissimmee Police Department were named as subjects as the within this internal affairs investigation. Now you will receive a detailed report of those sustained violations and those officers. Just to give you a quick breakdown of the 13, two officers resigned, or two members resigned prior to the Orange County Sheriff's Office investigation. Two members were terminated prior to the Orange County Sheriff's Office investigation. 3 members were terminated at the conclusion of this process of the Orange County Sheriff's Office internal investigation. 2 members were demoted to police officer as a result of the Orange County Sheriff's Office internal investigation. 3 were suspended, and then 1 out of the 13 was exonerated with no sustained violations. So to go in more details, 4 members resigned or were terminated before the Orange County Sheriff's Office could conclude their investigation, including former officer Andrew Bisagio, who was arrested on August 6, 2024. He was relieved of duty and charged with felony battery, 2 counts of witness tampering, and 1 count of official misconduct. Despite resigning before the investigation concluded, the investigation continued its quest for the truth and facts, and also found Andrew Bisagio actions sustained for several Kissimmee Police Department policy and general orders, to include compromising criminal cases, falsification of records and reports, and failure to obey laws and policies. his criminal procedures are still ongoing. 3 officers have been terminated. 1 officer was terminated for sustained violations of truthfulness and for compromising a criminal case. Another officer was terminated for sustained violations of compromising criminal cases, standards of conduct, and truthfulness. And then the last officer was terminated for sustained violations of standards of conduct. 2 other employees have received our notice of intent to demote them to the rank of police officer. 1 corporal, who was sustained in compromising criminal cases, was demoted to police officer. And a sergeant, who was sustained for violating standards of conduct, was demoted to police officer. 3 officers received a 24-hour suspension. 1 corporal, 1 sergeant, and 1 lieutenant all received a 24-hour suspension for unsatisfactory performance. Last but certainly not least, of the 13, 1 sergeant was exonerated with no sustained violations or disciplinary action. Each outcome was derived from a thorough review of individual actions as per our written directives regarding their involvement in the initial excessive use of force investigation. These decisions were not easy and were not made lightly. Each was based on the evidence, policy and procedures, the law, and our new department core values, as you see here. These core values are the new standard. They're new guiding principles. That's what we all hold each other accountable to. These core values are also implemented written into our policy. Again, this is what we hold each other accountable to. This is a litmus test for every single thing that we do internally as well as externally. Any standard that's less than these core values, and we are not meeting the standards of the Kissimmee Police Department of courage, honor, excellence, integrity, and service above self, or service above our own self-interests. But today's not only about what happened. It's also about what we're doing, where we're going, and that we are on track. Since stepping in as Chief of Police on April 1st of this year, we have focused on continuing to restore integrity, building a department that operates with transparency, accountability, and purpose every single day. We are making changes that go beyond discipline, but that reach the core of how we lead, how we train, and how we serve and protect this community. I will be able to update you regarding some changes and implementations on a 100-day report, but I just want to give you a glimpse of some of those implementations and some of those changes that have been made already. I've appointed recently a new Assistant Chief of Police who brings to this agency an extensive amount of law enforcement and leadership experience. He has worked prior with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office under former Sheriff Hansel and former Sheriff Gibson. He is here to help strengthen our executive leadership team. We will also promote additional executive staff members in our nearby future to ensure adequate oversight. We've enhanced our early warning system to flag patterns early and intervene quickly and proactively, not to discipline, but to identify where additional support and training and review may be needed. These efforts build upon the progress already underway. Before I arrived, the city leadership and interim chief, Robert Anzueta from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, began implementing reforms based on the grand jury presentment. This work was foundational. It included assessing the command staff's qualifications, improving internal policies on response to resistance, and providing training on crisis response and critical legal topics. We strengthened our internal affairs unit by assigning 2 sergeants and appointing an experienced civilian internal affairs manager to lead and ensure impartiality and accountability and consistency within all of our investigations. We've also addressed reporting gaps to guarantee full compliance with all state requirements concerning moral character violations or violations of moral turpitude, use of force incidents, as well as Brady disclosures. We will work and cooperate with the state attorney's office. Because of the commitment shown by all of our personnel, I can confidently say that we are moving forward with strength, transparency, and a deep responsibility to the community that we vow to serve and to protect. To our officers and civilian staff, I want to leave you with this. I want to say thank you first. I see your work, I see your commitment in the midst of this challenging investigation over the past 2 years. I see your professionalism, your patience, and your willingness to rise above. You have earned the right to be part of what comes next. We're all familiar with the quote that challenges in tough times builds character. But I also believe that challenges in tough times reveals character. It reveals who we are, reveals what we are made of. Because we are not defined by the worst day behind us, but it's how we respond, how we adapt, how we reform, how we get back up again, how we rebuild from it. To our community, your trust is our foundation. You've expected more, and you have the right to. What we do as public servants is about you. It's about serving and protecting you. It's about your safety. It's about enhancing quality of life and ensuring that you have a voice and that you maintain confidence in the Kissimmee Police Department. So with transparency, accountability, and the dedication of every member of this department, we will emerge stronger than ever. Our message is still simple but very clear. It's that we are moving forward. We're ready to serve and to protect this community and continue to provide exceptional service to everyone we come in contact with. Thank you for being here today, and at this time I'm ready to answer a few of your questions.
So just to clarify, did the investigation reveal that there were incidents of misconduct unrelated to the use of force incident?
Everything was related to the use of force incident. Standards of conduct was more on the lines of, you know, we had, as I mentioned before, I had 2 officers that falsified a report, falsified what occurred at that use of force incident to minimize Officer Visaggio's actions. So everything was related to the use of force incident.
What I'm getting at is, were you able to, or was the Orange County Sheriff's Office able to unearth any additional information related to other cases? The people implicated here, did they have a pattern of falsifying records, making untrue statements in other cases that were assigned to?
No, everything was limited. The scope was limited to this investigation here.
Can you talk about the moment you received this report and the decision-making that your team made, you know, how that process worked for you guys afterwards?
Sure. When I first got the report, it's disappointing, you know, and it's not just as disappointing to me. Meeting with my staff, the one thing that law enforcement officers just totally despise is when other officers, you know, tarnish this badge, do something contrary to our core value, do something contrary to integrity, do something contrary to this honorable and noble profession. So it was a little disappointing. But again, I want to be very clear, as I stated before, that this was not a department-wide cover-up. As an officer convinced 2 others to lie, and they're all been held accountable.
What about the civilian oversight, where I know that was discussed last night at the commission meeting? How do you think that if that is, you know, established and implemented, how do you think that that might work alongside with new executive staff that you're saying that you guys are wanting to hire to create more transparency? How do you see this working together?
Sure, I think it's going to work great. I think I'm looking forward to a great partnership. I'm looking forward to hearing from our community. I'm looking at our policies and procedures. And making sure that the best policies, procedures, and protocols are in place to serve and protect this community. Giving our community an ear, and it promotes transparency as well.
Was the former chief aware of what was happening? Is she part of the 13 people that were either terminated or they left? What can you say about the former chief?
Sure, so that will be in your document before you leave. The former chief resigned prior to this Orange County Sheriff's Office investigation, and there was violations sustained against the former prior chief.
So she's still being investigated as part of the cover-up investigation that's still ongoing?
She resigned prior to the conclusion of this investigation. So when you get your document, you will see that there were sustained violations against the prior chief.
Do you expect any other criminal charges to emerge after this?
No, so they did a criminal investigation. The only one that was charged criminally was Andrew Visaggio. Everyone else was administratively internal affairs investigation.
Can you talk about the ones that were suspended for 24 hours? Like, how was that line drawn? Like, what did they do?
Sure. So we look at how egregious the violation was, ensure that discipline is firm but fair. We also look at progressive discipline, similar discipline, past discipline, and then make a decision, again, that's firm but fair, and according to the violation that they committed. So the ones that were suspended received a 24-hour suspension each.
With pay?
With, 24-hour suspension without pay.
And what can you tell us about the new assistant chief and just kind of what made them an attractive candidate to be in that role?
Sure, he's the consummate professional, brings an extensive amount of experience. He was a high-ranking member of the Osceola County Sheriffs under the leadership of Sheriff Hansel, as well as former Sheriff Gibson. He also has worked at several past years at Florida Department of Law Enforcement as a special agent, where he was assigned to the Public Integrity Unit, the same unit that I actually worked many, many years ago.
Forgive me if I misspoke, but what is his name?
Kevin McGinley, MCGIN as in November, LEY. Kevin McGinley.
2.5 months into rebuilding the department from the top down, what kind of stress level has it been? I'm sure you knew what you were getting into.
I lost all my hair. No. No, I have, so I'll preface it with this. The community and its agency has been very welcoming, very receptive to change, very receptive to the new energy, very receptive to several different implementations that we have put in place already. So I can honestly say that it has been a great several months. I'm just a change agent by nature. I'm an ambitious person. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying coming to work every day, and I'm very optimistic about the future of this agency. So really excited about it.
Chief, following up on that, this was hanging over your head when you came here to Kissimmee a couple months ago. Now that the findings are out, how confident are you? How are you feeling now as opposed to 2 months ago? Like I said, when this was hanging over your head.
I feel great. Obviously, it's disappointing to see some of the violations of policy and procedure. But not just for myself, but I speak for the men and women here that they are glad to get this behind us. And again, it's nothing more than a cop hates is when another police officer tarnishes this badge or tarnishes this profession. So we are all glad to get this behind us, and we're moving forward.
So I know you've already been hard at work, and this isn't your first day, but does this feel somewhat like a first day in building a new culture? You're really talking about developing a new culture, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it is about building a culture and building an environment. Also building a culture and environment where people are quick and feel at ease to report wrongdoing. My hope is that when someone does something contrary to these core values, that there's a line outside my door, there's a line outside the assistant chief's door, there's a line outside internal affairs to report wrongdoing. And that's the culture that I'm looking to build, but also to maintain that culture.
Did anything change in the review process of the body cams when incidents occurred after this happened?
Good question, yeah. A lot of change in reference to the review process. So now any complaints that come in from our community, as well as use of force incidents, we have a robust review process in place, and actually it ends up on the desk of my assistant chief. And then assistant chief will get with me in reference to the results or the synopsis or the findings of that use of force incident or that complaint that came in from the community. So we have a very thorough, robust review process to ensure that that doesn't happen again.
What kind of gaps were there before?
I'm gonna answer that with an answer, because I can't speak for what someone else did or did not do. I can tell you going forward that I take total ownership. I can tell you going forward that we have a review process in place, a robust review process in place that responds to resistance incidents and complaints that come in from our community will be reviewed all the way up the chain to my assistant chief of police, and who will consult with me about it. I can tell you that we will be consulting with the state attorney's office with anything that rises to a level of criminal nature. I can tell you that sustained violations that meet that moral character or moral turpitude will be forwarded to the Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission. I can tell you that those officers who have sustained violations that their credibility is in question, that we will work with the Brady coordinator. I can also ensure that I will have employees in the right seats and who will be properly trained. We will communicate, And I will hear from our personnel, and I will hear from boots on the ground to make the right decisions to move this agency forward.
Last question.
For people at home in Osceola County, this might feel, absorbing this information, this might be amplifying their concerns about law enforcement more broadly. Obviously, just the other week, we learned about the charges against former Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez. I'm not trying to equate the two situations, but could you understand how there might be this erosion of trust in the county, and what would you say to those people?
I can understand, and I would tell them, and I would respond as, hey, changes have been made, changes are still coming and in progress. Those responsible have been held accountable, and again, the actions of a few do not reflect the overwhelming majority of the men and women committed to serving and protecting this community. Every profession has a small percentage of employees that do something contrary to integrity. But the main thing is that when that happens, that we hold them accountable and we're continuing to move forward. And I encourage a dialogue. If anyone still has concerns in our community, I'm an open book. This agency is open. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue, because we are stronger and more effective when we work together with our community. The police are the community are the police. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.